The call came at 3 in the morning, jarring me from a dreamless sleep. Madison's name flashed on my phone screen like a warning sign I chose to ignore for far too long. I let it ring 4 times, each chime a reminder of the last disaster my sister had dragged me into. "What?" I answered, already reaching for my bedside lamp. "Presley, I need you." Her voice carried that familiar mix of desperation and charm. "I'm at the police station on 4th Street. There was a misunderstanding at O'Malley's." I pressed my fingers against my temples. A misunderstanding involving the police, at a bar, at 3 in the morning. "You make everything sound so dramatic." She attempted a laugh that came out more like a hiccup. "Look, I just need bail money, 2,000. I'll pay you back next week." "Where are Dylan and Eli?" The silence on the other end made my stomach clench. "They're fine," she said finally. "They're with Nathan." "Nathan? Your ex? The one who filed a restraining order against you last month?" That was also a misunderstanding. I swung my legs out of bed, already knowing how this would end. It always ended the same way, with me cleaning up Madison's mess while she planned her next catastrophe. Give me 30 minutes. The police station reeked of industrial cleaner and stale coffee. Officer Martinez, no relation to my neighbor Olivia, looked up from his desk with recognition in his eyes. "Dr. Bennett, your sister's in holding." "What happened this time?" He flipped through his report. "Assault. She threw a glass at another patron. The victim needed 3 stitches. Jesus, Madison." I signed the paperwork, handed over my credit card, and waited in the fluorescent-lit lobby. Every minute that ticked by was another reminder of why I'd tried to distance myself from her chaos. When they finally brought her out, she looked smaller than her 38 years. Her mascara had created dark rivers down her cheeks, and her designer blouse was stained with what I hoped was just wine. "My guardian angel," she said, spreading her arms wide. I stepped back. "Where are your kids, Madison?" "Really?" Her smile faltered. "I told you, I called Nathan while I was waiting. He hasn't seen them in weeks." She dropped her arms, her face hardening into something more familiar. "They're at home. They're fine. Dylan's 14. He can watch Eli." "Alone? At 3 in the morning? Don't start with the judgment, Presley. Not everyone can be Little Miss Perfect like you, with your fancy dental practice, and your perfect kids, and your—" "Stop!" I grabbed her arm and steered her toward the exit. "We're getting your boys, and they're staying with me tonight." "You can't just—" "Yes, I can. And I will." I pushed open the heavy glass doors, letting the cool night air hit us. "Because that's what Mom and Dad would have wanted. That's what they tried to teach us before they died and left everything to their precious firstborn." Madison yanked her arm free. "Don't pretend this is about them. You've always loved playing the hero, haven't you? Perfect Presley, saving everyone while making sure they know exactly how much they've disappointed her." I watched her sway slightly on her expensive heels, saw the wounded child behind the makeup and bravado. For a moment, I was 12 again, holding my crying sister while our parents fought downstairs. But we weren't children anymore, and I couldn't keep pretending her wounds justified the damage she left in her wake. "Get in the car," I said quietly. "We're getting your boys. Then you and I are going to have a conversation about choices and consequences." She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Consequences? That's rich, coming from you. You have no idea what's coming, sister dear. No idea at all." I should have recognized the threat in her words, should have seen the calculation behind the chaos. But I was tired and worried about my nephews, and still clinging to the hope that somewhere inside, my sister was the girl who used to braid my hair and share her secrets. That was my first mistake. It wouldn't be my last. The next morning, my kitchen looked like a war zone. Madison had raided my pantry at dawn, leaving a trail of cereal boxes and dirty dishes in her wake. She sprawled on my couch now, scrolling through her phone, while Eli played video games at full volume. "Turn that down," I said, collecting coffee mugs. "Where's Dylan?" Madison waved vaguely toward the backyard. "Sulking somewhere. He's been impossible since we got here." Through the window, I spotted my nephew hunched over his tablet beneath the oak tree, headphones firmly in place. The same tree where Dad used to push us on the tire swing before everything went wrong. My phone buzzed with a message from Chloe. Coming home early. Need to talk about Aunt Madison. Perfect. Just perfect. The front door opened and Lucas walked in, his laptop bag slung over his shoulder. He took one look at Madison and his jaw tightened. Mom, we need to discuss the office situation. What office situation? Madison sat up, suddenly alert. Nothing, I said quickly, but Lucas continued. Aunt Madison's been using Mom's dental office address for her mail. The receptionist just called. There's a stack of legal notices. Those are private. Madison jumped up, nearly knocking over a lamp. You had no right. It's my office, I cut in. What kind of legal notices? She grabbed her purse. I need a cigarette. Not in this house. Madison, what have you done? The front door opened again, and Chloe burst in, her face flushed. Mom, Dylan's been selling stuff online using our Wi-Fi. Something about cryptocurrency. So, it's not illegal, Dylan called from the backyard. He'd appeared at the sliding door, his expression defiant. I'm making real money, unlike your mother? Madison spun toward him. Go ahead, say it. Everyone else here thinks it. The room crackled with tension. I watched my sister's hands shake as she dug through her purse, probably searching for cigarettes she wouldn't find. Family meeting, I announced. Everyone, now. Pass, Lucas said, heading for the stairs. Not optional. They gathered reluctantly around the dining table. My children on one side, Madison and hers on the other. Eli kept his gaming device under the table, thumbs moving frantically. This isn't working, I began. Nothing ever works for you, does it, Presley? Madison's smile was razor sharp. Not since Ryan left. Don't. The word came out harder than I intended. This isn't about Ryan. This is about you using my office for whatever scheme you're running, and Dylan using our network for… I'm making $300 a day, Dylan interrupted. That's more than Mom makes in a week. Madison's face flushed. You ungrateful little… Stop it. Chloe stood up. This is insane. Mom, they can't stay here. Dylan's been telling kids at my school that he can get them fake IDs. What? I turned to my nephew. Is this true? He shrugged, a gesture so like his mother it made my chest ache. Everyone needs side hustles these days. You wouldn't understand. I understand perfectly, I faced Madison. This ends now. Either you get help, real help, or you find somewhere else to stay. Where exactly should I go? Her voice rose. Back to Nathan? To the streets? Is that what you want? To prove once and for all that you're the good sister, the successful one, while I'm just the family disappointment? I want you to be a mother to your children. The silence that followed was deafening. Even Eli looked up from his game. Madison stood slowly, her chair scraping against the floor. You always did think you knew best, didn't you? Just like Mom and Dad. Well, guess what? I know things too. Things about this perfect little life you've built. Things that would make your precious children see you very differently. Get out! The words surprised even me. She laughed. Or what? Or I'll tell them about Phoenix. The color drained from Madison's face. For a moment, I saw real fear in her eyes. Then it vanished, replaced by something colder. You wouldn't dare. Try me. She grabbed her purse. Boys, we're leaving. No, Dylan said quietly. I'm staying. Madison froze. What did you say? I'm staying with Aunt Presley. He met my eyes across the table. If that's okay? Before I could answer, Madison slapped her hands on the table. None of you understand what you're doing, but you will, soon. She stormed out, leaving Eli torn between following his mother and staying with his brother. The choice was made for him when Madison's voice rang out from the driveway. Eli, now! After they left, the house felt both emptier and lighter. But as I watched Dylan's shoulders shake with silent sobs, I knew this was just the beginning. Whatever Phoenix meant to Madison, she wouldn't let it stay buried forever. And neither would I. The stack of legal notices from my office felt heavy in my hands. Each envelope told its own story of Madison's descent: unpaid credit cards, collection notices, and something that made my blood run cold: a letter from the state medical board about unauthorized prescriptions. Dylan watched me from across my home office, his fingers drumming against his knee. She used to take people's files home from her practice before they suspended her license. What kind of files? Patient records, the ones with the good prescriptions. He wouldn't meet my eyes. She said it was research. My phone buzzed. A text from Nathan. "We need to talk about Madison. It's worse than you think." I set down the letters. "Dylan, what do you know about Phoenix?" His fingers stopped drumming. "Just that it made Mom cry sometimes. Late at night, when she thought we were sleeping. She'd call someone and beg them not to tell you about it." The doorbell rang, startling us both. Through the window, I saw Madison's car idling in the driveway, Eli visible in the passenger seat. "Don't answer it," Dylan whispered. But I was already moving. When I opened the door, I found myself face to face with Ryan, my ex-husband, looking exactly as he had the day he walked out 5 years ago. "Hello, Presley." He smiled that devastating smile. "Madison said you might need my help." "Like hell I do." I tried to close the door, but he blocked it with his foot. "It's about Phoenix." His voice dropped. "And what really happened to your parents' money?" Behind me, I heard Dylan's sharp intake of breath. "Uncle Ryan?" "Hey, kid." Ryan's expression softened. "You've grown." "He's not staying," I said firmly. But Dylan was already moving forward. "Did Mom send you?" "Actually, I came to warn you both." Ryan glanced over his shoulder at Madison's car. "She's not well, Presley. She's been calling me, making threats about exposing something from Phoenix. Says it'll destroy you." "Get inside," I said through gritted teeth, "before she decides to join this little reunion." Once in the living room, Ryan's facade cracked slightly. "She's been forging prescriptions using your office address, but that's not the worst of it." "What could be worse than she found Dad's old files?" Dylan's voice was barely audible. "The ones from the safe deposit box, about the accident." My head snapped up. "What accident?" Ryan sat forward. "The one that killed your parents. Madison says it wasn't an accident at all. Says she has proof that—" The front door burst open. Madison stood there, Eli clutching her hand, her eyes wild. "Telling tales, Ryan, after everything we agreed on?" "This has to stop," Ryan said, standing. "Before someone else gets hurt." She laughed high and brittle. "Hurt? Like how my sister hurt me? Taking everything, always being the favorite?" She turned to me. "Should we tell them about Phoenix, Presley? About what really happened that summer?" "Mom, please," Dylan begged. "Just stop." "You want me to stop?" "Fine. Show them the files, Ryan. Show them what their perfect Dr. Bennett did." Ryan reached into his jacket, pulling out a worn manila envelope. "I'm sorry, Presley. I kept these all these years because Madison threatened to." But I wasn't listening anymore. Through the window, I saw Olivia Martinez hurrying across her yard toward my house, waving frantically. Behind her, 2 police cars pulled up silently, their lights off. "Madison," I said quietly. "What did you do?" She smiled, tears streaming down her face. "What you taught me to do, sister. I learned from the best. Phoenix taught us both about revenge, didn't it?" The police were at my door now. Madison didn't resist when they entered, didn't fight when they read her rights. Something about fraudulent prescriptions, identity theft, and, God help us, embezzlement from our parents' estate. As they led her out, she called over her shoulder. "Tell them about Phoenix, Presley. Tell them how you destroyed everything first." Dylan watched his mother disappear into the police car, his face a mask of pain and relief. Eli broke free and ran to his brother, sobbing. Ryan held up the envelope. "Do you want to know what's in here?" I stared at the manila package, remembering that summer in Phoenix, the choices I'd made, the secrets I'd buried. "No," I said finally, "but I think it's time I told the truth myself." The police cars pulled away, leaving us in a silence heavy with unspoken confessions. Madison might have started this war, but I had fired the first shot long ago, in Phoenix, where everything changed. And now, looking at the frightened faces of our children, I knew the real price of revenge was about to come due. The manila envelope sat untouched on my kitchen counter for 3 days. Ryan's number flashed on my phone twice daily, but I let it go to voicemail. In the guest room, Dylan barely spoke, spending hours on his tablet while Eli called every night, his voice smaller each time. I found Lucas going through the envelope at midnight. "Mom!" He held up a photograph I hadn't seen in 20 years. "Why are you and Aunt Madison in Phoenix with Dad? Before you were married?" My hands shook as I took the photo. 3 young faces smiled back at me. Ryan with his arm around Madison, me standing slightly apart. The date stamp showed August 1999. "Where did you find this?" "There's more." He pulled out a stack of papers. Bank statements, letters. Something about a clinical trial? The room tilted slightly. I grabbed the counter for support. "You shouldn't be looking at these." "Someone should." He met my eyes, so much like his father's. "Aunt Madison's lawyer called the office today. She's claiming you stole her portion of Grandpa's inheritance using forged documents from Phoenix." My phone buzzed. Olivia Martinez. "Nathan Green is here, says it's urgent." "I need to handle something," I said, reaching for the envelope. Lucas pulled it back. "Did you do it? Take her money?" "It's complicated." "That's not an answer." The doorbell rang. Through the window, I saw Nathan pacing on my porch, running his hands through his hair. "We're not done," Lucas said, but handed over the envelope. Nathan burst in as soon as I opened the door. "She's getting out tomorrow. Emergency bail hearing. Ryan pulled strings." "Of course he did." I pressed my fingers to my temples. "What does she want?" "Nigh everything." Nathan's laugh was hollow. "The house, the practice, custody of both boys. Says she has proof you manipulated your father's will using documents from some medical trial in Phoenix." "She was unstable then. The trial was supposed to help her." Dylan's voice made us both jump. He stood in the hallway, tablet clutched to his chest. "I found the old records online. Mom volunteered for an experimental treatment. Something went wrong." My throat tightened. "Dylan, some things happened before you were born. Like you and Dad getting together while Mom was in the hospital?" His voice cracked. "I found the emails." Nathan's phone chimed. His face went pale as he read the message. "Presley, she's not waiting for tomorrow. She's filed an emergency injunction against your practice. Something about fraudulent prescriptions under your license." "That's impossible. I never—" "Check your system," he urged. With trembling fingers, I pulled up my office records on my phone. Dozens of unauthorized prescriptions appeared, all written in the past month. All under my name. She used my login. The realization hit like a physical blow. She still had my passwords from when she stayed here. "Mom?" Chloe appeared at the top of the stairs, her face streaked with tears. "The police are at the office. They're seizing the computers." The room spun again. I heard Lucas asking questions, felt Nathan's hand on my arm, saw Dylan backing away toward the guest room. But all I could think about was that summer in Phoenix, watching Madison spiral into paranoia while I found comfort in Ryan's arms. The clinical trial that was supposed to help her, but instead, my phone buzzed one final time. Madison's text was simple. "Remember what you said in Phoenix? About protecting family at any cost?" My turn. "Nathan," I managed, "I need you to take Dylan somewhere safe. Now." "What are you going to do?" I looked at the photograph again. 3 young people with no idea how their choices would echo through decades. "I'm going to tell the truth. All of it." "Mom, no!" Lucas stepped forward. "Whatever happened in Phoenix wasn't just about the money." I took a deep breath. "It was about a choice I made. A choice that destroyed your aunt's life while I built mine on the ruins." Through the window, I watched police lights approach. Madison had finally found her revenge, served cold after 20 years. But she'd forgotten one thing. I'd learned from that summer, too. Learned that sometimes the only way to protect your family was to burn everything else to the ground. I picked up my phone and dialed Ryan's number. Get over here. It's time we all paid for Phoenix. The police lights grew closer, casting red and blue shadows across my children's frightened faces. Whatever came next would change us all. But maybe, just maybe, the truth would hurt less than the lies we'd built our lives around. Ryan arrived just as the police finished questioning me about the prescriptions. He stood in my kitchen, looking at the scattered evidence of our past, while Lucas and Chloe watched from the stairs, Dylan hidden behind them. You kept everything, he said, touching the Phoenix documents. Insurance. I pulled out my father's last letter, dated 3 days before the accident. Did you know Madison was there that night, at the lake house? His hand froze. What? The police report Dad requested. It was in his safe deposit box. I slid it across the counter. Someone tampered with their boat. The investigator suspected. Stop. Ryan's voice cracked. Some things should stay buried. Like the real results of Madison's clinical trial? Dylan stepped forward, his tablet glowing. I found them. The drug didn't make Mom crazy. She already was. The doctors recommended institutionalization, but someone signed her out against medical advice. He looked at Ryan. Your signature's on the forms. The room went still. Through the window, I saw Olivia Martinez watching from her porch, phone in hand. You were supposed to protect her, I whispered to Ryan. While I handled Dad's estate. That was our agreement. I tried. He wouldn't meet my eyes. But she knew about us by then. Threatened to tell your father everything unless I helped her leave the facility. So you chose to let her spiral? Lucas's voice dripped contempt. While we built a life on lies, I finished. But Madison remembered. All these years, she remembered. My phone lit up with a text from Nathan. She's coming, with lawyers. As if on cue, car doors slammed outside. Madison's voice carried through the evening air, sharp with triumph. The police warrant covers personal devices, too. Anything that might show prescription fraud. Mom? Chloe clutched her laptop. All my dental school applications are on here, my whole future. Take the kids upstairs, I told Ryan. Now. Presley, do it! They barely made it up when Madison burst in, flanked by 2 lawyers and a police officer. Her smile was razor sharp. Finding all our Phoenix souvenirs, sister dear? This won't bring them back, I said quietly. Mom and Dad died thinking you were the perfect daughter. She snatched up the police report. While I tried to tell them the truth about you, about Ryan, about what really happened in Phoenix. You mean the trial? I stepped closer. Or what happened after, when you sabotaged their boat? Her face went white. You can't prove... Dad's letter arrived the day after the accident. He was coming to confront us both. He knew everything, Madison, about the trial, about Ryan, about the missing money. He knew. No. She shook her head violently. No, you're lying, like you always lie. Check her office computer, one lawyer instructed the officer. The prescription records won't show anything, Dylan called from the stairs. Everyone looked up to see him holding his tablet. Because I already erased them, along with the fake ones Mom created. Madison's triumph crumbled. Dylan, what did you do? What you taught me. His voice was steel. Everyone needs a side hustle, right? Well, I'm pretty good with systems and evidence. You little... She lunged for the stairs, but I caught her arm. Enough! I pulled out my phone, showing her the screen. One call, and Nathan sends everything to the medical board. The real Phoenix files, Dad's letter, the boat investigation, everything. You wouldn't. But fear had replaced the triumph in her eyes. You'd destroy yourself too. Maybe it's time we both paid for our choices. I looked at our children, watching this legacy of lies unravel. 24 hours, Madison. Get help. Real help this time, or I burn it all down. Us. The inheritance. Everything. You're bluffing. Try me. I released her arm. 24 hours to decide if revenge is worth destroying everyone you claim to love, including your sons. She backed away, tears streaming down her face. You always were better at this game, weren't you? I learned from the best. I watched her flee, her lawyers scrambling after her. When the door slammed, the silence felt like a physical weight. Dylan's tablet chimed. Mom's accessing her accounts, moving money. Let her run, I said. Sometimes the best revenge is forcing someone to face themselves. But as my family gathered around me, I wondered who would face the mirror first, Madison or me. 23 hours into Madison's ultimatum, Nathan called. She's at the lake house, with Eli. My hands gripped the steering wheel as I drove through the darkness. The same road our parents took that final night. Ryan sat beside me, while Dylan tracked his mother's phone location from the back seat. She's accessing the old accounts, Dylan reported, his voice tight. Moving large sums. To where? Ryan asked. Phoenix. Of course. Where else would she go to destroy us all? The lake house emerged from the darkness, its windows blazing. Madison's car sat in the driveway beside an unfamiliar vehicle. Through the front window, I saw Eli sitting on the couch, gaming device in hand, while Madison paced behind him. Stay here, I told Dylan, but he was already out of the car. That's my brother in there. Inside, Madison looked up with red-rimmed eyes. Right on schedule. Always so punctual, aren't you, Presley? It's over, Madison. The medical board already has the evidence. Evidence? She laughed. You mean the files Ryan falsified? The ones that made me look unstable while you two played happy family? Mom? Eli's voice trembled. You said we were just visiting. We are, baby. Just like that night with Grandpa and Grandma. She moved toward the back door. Want to see their boat? It's still here, you know. They never sold it after. Don't. Ryan stepped forward. The kids don't need to. The kids need truth. Madison's voice cracked. They need to know how their perfect Aunt Presley watched me break down in Phoenix, how she stole my treatment money for her dental school, how she and Ryan used it to pay off the doctors, Dylan finished. We all turned to see him holding up his tablet. I found the transfer records, from Phoenix Regional Hospital to offshore accounts. But the signatures, he looked at Ryan. They're not Mom's or Aunt Presley's. Ryan's face went ash white. You, Madison whispered. You stole my treatment money? To protect you, he stammered. You were getting worse, making threats. Your doctors said. Said what? I stepped closer. What exactly did they say, Ryan? That she'd discovered something, about the clinical trials, about what they were really testing. He wouldn't meet anyone's eyes. I couldn't let her expose it. The pharmaceutical company paid me to destroy my life? Madison's laugh turned hysterical. While you played devoted husband to my sister? While our parents died thinking I was crazy? A crash from the dock made us all jump. Eli had slipped out during the confrontation. Through the window, I saw him climbing into the old boat. Eli, no! Madison ran for the dock. The rest of us followed, but she was faster, reaching the boat as it drifted from its moorings. Come back, Dylan shouted. The engine isn't safe. But Eli had already found the key, hidden exactly where our father always kept it. The engine roared to life, sputtering and angry. Madison dove into the dark water. Mom! Dylan moved to follow, but I held him back. She's not coming up, Ryan said quietly. The boat's engine died with a violent crack. Eli screamed as smoke began pouring from the housing. The current was pulling them both further out, into the darkness where our parents had died. Call rescue! I kicked off my shoes. Dylan, get the floodlights! Presley, don't! Ryan grabbed my arm. The undertow! I jerked away from him. You've done enough. The water hit me like black ice, stealing my breath. Somewhere ahead, I heard Madison's splashing growing weaker. Eli's cries echoed across the water. Behind me, Dylan was shouting something about coordinates, about help coming, about secrets finally revealed. But all I could think about was that summer in Phoenix, watching my sister slip away while I built my life on her ruins. Maybe this was justice. Maybe this was karma. Or maybe this was just another Bennett family tragedy, playing out exactly as our parents had feared. The darkness swallowed me as I dove deeper, searching for my sister's hand in the same water that had claimed our parents. Above me, boat lights began to appear, but they seemed very far away, like stars in a phoenix sky, burning with secrets that could destroy us all, if we survived long enough to tell them. The hospital lights buzzed overhead as I sat between two beds, Madison in one, Eli in the other. Both sleeping, both saved from the lake's darkness. My clothes still felt damp, my lungs raw from the rescue. Dylan worked on his tablet in the corner, while Ryan paced the hallway outside, making frantic calls about the pharmaceutical company's records. Madison stirred first. Eli? He's okay, I said. Mild hypothermia, like you. She turned to look at her son, tears streaming down her face. I never meant. I just wanted. To make someone pay, I finished. Like Mom and Dad paid? They weren't supposed to be there that night. Her voice cracked. I only wanted to destroy the boat, destroy the evidence of what Ryan had done with the trial money. Dylan's head snapped up. What evidence? Madison's laugh was hollow. Check the Phoenix Hospital's archived security footage, July 15, 1999. The day your father signed me out against medical advice. Dylan's fingers flew across his tablet. The room filled with tension as we waited, broken only by Eli's steady breathing. Found it, Dylan said finally, but it's encrypted. I need your father's social security number, Madison and I said simultaneously. She met my eyes. You remembered. I remember everything about Phoenix. I moved closer to her bed, including what you told me the night before Ryan took you out, about the trial's real purpose. Stop. Ryan appeared in the doorway. Madison, think about what you're doing. I'm done thinking. She pushed herself up. I'm done being the crazy sister, the bad mother, the family shame. Show them, Dylan. Show them what your father really did. The tablet screen flickered to life, projecting onto the wall. Security footage showed a younger Ryan escorting Madison from her room, but they didn't leave the hospital. Instead, they went to the research wing. Fast forward 2 hours, Madison instructed. The footage jumped. Now Ryan emerged alone, carrying files. Madison never came out. They kept me sedated for 3 more days, she whispered, while Ryan sold the trial data to a competitor. Data about psychological manipulation techniques, about breaking people's minds. The money trail, Dylan added, pulling up more documents. It didn't go offshore. It went to start Dad's first business and Mom's dental practice. I felt the floor tilt beneath me. What? Check the dates, Madison said. Your first loan, your practice location. All arranged by Ryan, using money from selling me out. And you never questioned it, did you? Too happy playing the perfect daughter, the successful sister, while I... She choked on a sob. I didn't know, I whispered. Didn't want to know, Ryan corrected from the doorway. Just like your parents didn't want to know. Until Madison threatened to expose everything. So I had to... Had to what? Dylan stood. Kill our grandparents? Had to protect what I'd built. Ryan's composure cracked. Your aunt was going to ruin everything, just like she's doing now. Madison, please, think about the boys. I am thinking about them. Madison reached for Eli's hand. That's why I came to the lake house, to find Dad's real evidence. The files he kept about the trial, about what they did to me, about what you and Presley built on my suffering. My phone buzzed. A message from Nathan. Police are here. Ryan's confession recorded. Stand by. It's over, I told Ryan. The police have everything. The trial records, the money transfers, your confession about the boat. He lunged for the door, but uniformed officers were already there. As they led him away, he called back. I did it for us, Presley, for our family. No, I said, taking Madison's hand. You did it for yourself, and we all paid the price. In the silence that followed, Eli stirred. Mom! Madison broke down, gathering her son in her arms while Dylan joined them. I moved toward the door, giving them space, but Madison's voice stopped me. Presley, the inheritance. Dad left it all to you because he found out. About Ryan, about Phoenix. He was trying to protect me. I turned back. Then let me do what he couldn't. Let me help make this right. How? By telling the truth, all of it, together. She nodded slowly, her arms still around her boys. Outside, police lights flashed like phoenix stars, promising justice long delayed, but finally served. Some revenge, I realized, comes not from destruction, but from reconstruction, from building something new from the ashes of what was lost. The lake house stood empty now, except for boxes and memories. Madison sorted through old photographs while Dylan transformed our parents' study into a digital art studio, his tablet casting blue light across familiar walls. Found another one, Madison called, holding up a picture. Our parents on their boat, both smiling, both alive. The weekend before Phoenix. I took the photo, noticing for the first time how Dad's hand rested protectively on Madison's shoulder. He knew something was wrong with the trial, didn't he? That's why he kept investigating, even after... She touched the frame gently. The evidence he gathered helped convict Ryan and the pharmaceutical company. Through the window, I watched Eli teaching Chloe and Lucas to skip stones across the lake's surface. The water held no darkness now, only afternoon sunlight and rippling reflections. Dylan's art show opens next week, Madison said quietly. He's featuring the Phoenix series. I turned to watch our nephew work. His digital paintings told our story in abstract swirls of pain and healing, hospital corridors, courtroom shadows, two sisters drowning in secrets and surfacing in truth. The pharmaceutical company wants to settle, I said. Their lawyers called this morning. Let them. Madison's voice hardened, but not for money, for change. Reform of clinical trials, protection for participants, transparency in research. Mom? Dylan called from his workspace. Come look at this. We gathered around his screen. The image showed two women underwater, hands clasped, pulling each other toward the surface. In the background, a boat burned like a phoenix. It's called Resurrection, he said. The final piece in the series. Madison touched the screen. Is that how you see us now? I see truth, he answered, like Dad always wanted, before everything went wrong. My phone buzzed, Nathan confirming Ryan's sentencing date. I declined the call. Some chapters needed to stay closed. The lake house is yours, I told Madison. Dad left it to me, but he meant it for you, for healing. For both of us, she corrected. Dylan's studio can stay here. My therapy practice, too, once I'm licensed again. And your kids need a place to escape their mother's dental empire. I laughed, surprising us both. Speaking of empire, Chloe's taking over the practice. Says she can manage it better than I ever did. The next generation, Madison mused. Doing it right this time. Outside, Olivia Martinez arrived with dinner, joining our children by the lake. The scene looked like one of Dylan's paintings. Light and shadow, past and future, family rebuilt from ruins. I never wanted revenge, Madison said suddenly. I wanted understanding, to be seen, to matter. You always mattered. I took her hand. I just forgot how to show it. Dylan's tablet chimed with another gallery notification. His Phoenix series had already sold out, telling our story to strangers who would never know the real price of truth. Ready? I asked Madison, nodding toward the dock where our family gathered. She squeezed my hand. Almost. We watched Dylan add final touches to his painting, a small figure in the burning boat, face turned not toward the fire, but toward the sisters in the water. Our father, watching his daughters choose rescue over revenge. Now I'm ready, Madison said. We joined our family by the water, where Eli had arranged stones in a pattern only he understood. Lucas helped Chloe perfect her throwing technique, while Olivia set out plates on the old picnic table. The lake reflected the setting sun like phoenix flames, but its waters ran clear and calm. Somewhere beneath that surface lay the wreckage of our parents' boat, our father's final evidence, Ryan's betrayal. But up here, in the gathering darkness, we had built something new, not perfect, not unmarked by pain, but ours. Dylan called us to see the finished painting. As we gathered around his screen, a notification popped up. Another message from the pharmaceutical company's lawyers. Madison moved to delete it, but I stopped her. Let them wait, I said. Some revenge takes time. She smiled, understanding at last. Our story wasn't about destruction anymore. It was about reconstruction, about choosing to save each other instead of drowning in the past. The phoenix rises, after all, not from revenge, but from redemption.